We are live. Jim played a big joke on us, so Jim, we love you. But
that was funny.
In any case, this is Talking Crit. I am Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. Adjacent to me, being held up by none other than Jim Kitchen, the two of us, is Bad Mike Satan Battleato, otherwise known as my once-a-week work spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that makes me the once-a-week side piece, doesn't it?
Oh,
hey, take it where you can get it, man. If it,
just
there,
I'm just saying.
So here we are. It's March, and I walked the dog today in sleet and cold and awfulness.
The weather has no clue what it's doing, does it?
And I thought to myself, how can I make myself feel better about all these things? And I thought, well, I've got 2 hours with two of my besties where we're going to talk about all sorts of stuff. We're going to talk about things. And I find that social media is less and less appealing to me, right? God love your hearts. There's many of you that have sent me a friend request without telling me who you are. And I have no idea who you are. So I don't respond. But I have been remiss in that I have not posted on social media about the very thing that we should probably start talking about. And that is Ernie passing away.
Absolutely.
And so let me start. We've talked about Ernie off and on the show for a long time. And I know that there are a number of people out there who have met Ernie, are familiar with Ernie. But if you're not, Ernie was the oldest son of Gary Gygax. And Ernie was in a very unique position at a time when Dungeons and Dragons was coming together. Ernie was a part of that very, very early phase of Dungeons and Dragons. He worked at the Dungeon Hobby Shop. And I think what I would say is I had a chance to game with Ernie one time and was warned that Ernie was perhaps not the best dungeon master. And that was perhaps the biggest understatement I've ever had in my life.
I have a story about that later, too. So go ahead.
Ernie was one of those guys that you move 10 feet, you have an encounter. You move 10 feet, you have an encounter. You move 10 feet, and you have an encounter, which is fine because that was the way D&D was for Ernie at his dad's table.
Mm-hmm.
And so this past week after Ernie died, I made the mistake of opening up Reddit and seeing a thread where somebody, I think it was actually within an OSR group, somebody essentially made the comment of, Ernie Gygax has passed away and Tenzer is no longer with us. And, please think about the Gygax family at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And what followed was just a seething, boiling mass of vitriol and hatred.
Mm-hmm. I saw much of that.
Yep.
And so I didn't say much to Mike and Eric before the show started because I was trying to gather my thoughts. I've spent a lot of time in the last few days thinking about what we were going to talk about as far as Ernie. And I want to get a lot of this out right at the get-go. And I'm sorry, Mike, and I'm sorry. There's times where some of you delightful people send me notes and you say you talk too much. And I'm more than willing to admit this.
We tell him that, too. He knows that. Come on.
Yeah, we love him anyway.
Ernie was a human being. And anybody who has been in this hobby long enough will tell you that the last thing you should do is deify people in the hobby because they're never going to be able to live up to the expectations that you pin on them when you do this.
Right.
Ernie had foibles, and Ernie was renowned for taking it on the chin and talking to this stuff openly and honestly. I think we've spoken before about Ernie having had some difficulties with alcohol and things. And what I would say is, in the grand scheme of a man's life, the troubles that he had, the things that he said, they really just don't matter in the long run. Ernie's passing has we've lost one more connection to the early early part of our hobby. And what I would say to that is, there's a lot of people out there that look at Ernie through a prism of just the last few years. One of the things that I saw on Reddit was that Ernie was the sort of person that we absolutely had to cancel. You had to cancel Ernie Gygax because he was responsible for any number of war crimes and atrocities. And frankly, most of the things that I saw were actually things that were part of new TSR or whatever the terrible science fiction game was where the rule set had regrettable things in it. These were not done directly by the hand of Ernie. I spoke to somebody over the weekend who said, how do you blame Ernie Gygax at what I would say are the later years of his life, 4 or 5 years ago, where he's come through a number of circumstances. He's essentially put alcohol behind him. And somebody essentially says, hey, I'd like to offer you a job where you play games, you run games for people. And to Ernie, like, this was perfect because really and truly, Ernie wanted to run games for people and people wanted Ernie to run games for them. Now, having played with Ernie, again, I tell you, you only ever did it once and it left scars. But for all of that, Ernie was Tenzer, right? I always wondered who the guy was that came up with the floating disc. And then I found out. And when I met Ernie the first time, he was an unbelievably decent guy. You could say any number of things about Ernie that are criticisms through a lens that goes back for a while. But a lot of the things that I saw this past week, people talking about Ernie, number one, they're not him. Number two, yes, he made a number of statements on Twitter and other places that have not aged well. But Ernie was honest. Ernie was honest about what he felt, and Ernie said the things that he wanted to say. And the problem is that you can hear these things, but you choose how you want to react. I think a lot of times people go into a conversation and they're ready for a fight. They want to come out mad. They want to have something make them mad. They want to have something to be mad about. And at a time where the Gygax family is mourning a brother, I thought a lot about Mary Gygax. No parent should outlive a child. And Mary has now outlived her oldest son, her firstborn. And that aches. That's the sort of stuff that just hurts when you hear those words out loud. And I've said those words out loud a couple of times, sort of rehearsing for it. And so I think what we have to say is go in good travels, Ernie. You were the guy that processed people's orders for the Dungeon Hobby Shop. I have a box up on top of my bookcase that's signed by Ernie from where he filled out the customs form to send it to Canada. Ernie helped a lot of people get started in the hobby. Ernie was an early ambassador of the hobby. I can't remember any time somebody has said, I can't remember a time where anybody has said that Ernie was angry or short with people. I've never seen a picture of Ernie where he wasn't smiling and he wasn't having a pretty good time. And some of that, he may have been a little chemically altered, but for the most part, Ernie was a happy guy. And so there's no malice, there's no forethought to being malicious with Ernie. Ernie was just a human being like all the rest of us. And so with Ernie passing, we've lost another Gygax. We're at the we're at the 18th. Is it the 18th anniversary of losing Gary? 17th. And 17th. We're at the 17th anniversary of losing Gary. Mm-hmm. And if people can't sort of keep things in perspective and so on and so forth, I think you choose to make your hobby much smaller and much less accommodating and much less social. Our hobby is about having a big table, and our hobby is about having anybody. We have open tables so that we can meet strangers, and strangers, strangers are just our friends you haven't made yet. You don't have to get along with everybody. Oh, Jesus, you don't have to get along with everybody. But let's take a step back from all the vitriol, and let's take a step back from who Ernie chose to be associated with later in life, and recognize that Ernie had a very interesting life. And more than anything else, he was the guy at his father's side when his father was sitting and typing this stuff out and creating the hobby that we love. And so Godspeed, good travels, Ernie Gygax.
I first of all, I got a lot of responses to you, Jim, because thanks for that. That was a good little talk there. Definitely. I first of all, I think one of the problems with social media nowadays is we have to react quickly. And I don't understand why we feel this need to be the first post, first this, first that. In the case of Ernie, there was some really ugly things said about him. Some were not 100% unjustified. The problem is, I have a rule about that, and it's wait until they're in the ground, basically. Wait until the family's grieved, they've had a ceremony, we're done. Okay, if you want to talk about this or that, let's talk about it now. There's no point in having to be the first to say that this person's a piece of shit or this person did this or that. It's not a contest. It's not a game. You can hold that in for 5 days or a week or 2 weeks and then let fly afterwards. That's the way you really feel. But this pathetic, weird need we feel in our social aspect of society to have to talk about everything and say everything immediately it's weird, and it's unbecoming.
It's antisocial.
It is. It's disgusting. It's about me. It's attention. I want attention. All the guys, I know some of the people that came out and said some stuff last week, and I know who they are, and they're attention whores. And I want attention. I'll be the first to get up there and say Ernie's a miserable human being. I'm going to be the first to do it. Look, so if you read, Ernie a few years ago posted a very candid, very long post about his life and where he got to where he was. And when he was growing up, he was given alcohol at a very young age, a younger age than most of us would give their child alcohol. Let's put it that way. He grew up. His dad was making unbelievable amounts of money in the late 70s, early 80s. He was very candid about his problems with drugs and alcohol.
I would throw in just a little bit of perspective, folks. Gary was a Seventh-day Adventist. He had a mess of kids and was working as a cobbler. He had been an actuary, but these folks did not have a lot of money passing between them.
No.
And I think one of the things that people always forget about, right, is that there was a time where they had nothing, and then they had everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went back down. And I can't say that I've ever read of anybody who handled that sort of situation well.
No, it's what happens to regular people. Look, every day there was a story about somebody who wins the lottery, and 2 years later they pissed it all away and they're living in a gutter. And you're like, what happened, dude? You were handed $20 million. Well, it's always a story. There's always a story to go with that. And this Ernie, like you said, Jim, I've never heard a bad word about him personally. I would say if he had a character flaw, was that he was too trusting. He was trusting of people.
Yes.
And a lot of people in the cobby are like that. I brought up in the chat about Whitman. He got good guys in the hobby like Jolly Blackburn and Mark Miller to go along with his things because they're trusting good people, and they wanted to believe this guy who was going to make movies out of their property. I think Ernie got mixed up with some people who told him, like you said, Jim, exactly what he wanted to hear. I'm going to get you a job where all you do is run games all day. That, to his ears, especially everything he went through, because the first time I saw Ernie, so he was scheduled to be in North Texas twice. Both times he had to cancel because of health problems, and these were connected to his alcoholism. He had issues. One time he was going to come with his brother Alex. Alex ended up coming by himself because Ernie couldn't make the drive, and I can't remember the other time. I think that was 2 years before that. But I saw him at a convention. I saw him at a Gamehole Con, one of the early Gamehole Cons, and he was in a wheelchair, and he was red as Satan's outfit at the midnight auction. And I talked to him for a while. Nice guy. When he drove off, Zach said to me, "He's going to die very soon." I said, "Yeah, I think you're right."
Oh,
Because
dude,
he looked that bad. That's how bad he looked. And the fact that he was able to kick the monkey off his back and give up alcohol, that's something.
Let's give credit where credit is due. Ernie's the only human being I know with a Constitution 1900, and the man made a lot of saving throws.
Oh my God!
Holy crap! What would have killed all the rest of the mortals in this chat on this show? We would have all been flatlined. But Ernie walked right into this and was like, roll, and he didn't have to look because it just kept coming up 100s.
He lucked out because he had, and like I said, he was very candid about his life in the 80s and 90s, and it was a lot of partying and a lot of having a good time, whatever that
shenanigans.
Lots of shenanigans. And so the fact that he was able to say, okay, you're right, I've heard rumors of an intervention with his family and people saying, look, this is coming down to this. You are going to die in a year. Your doctors have told you you're going to die. And he was able to say, okay, all right, I'm going to give this up and I'm going to change it. And he did. And like I said, his fatal flaw maybe was that he was trusting. And a con man came and offered him a job, playing him perfectly, saying, you're going to play games and it's going to be great. And he didn't want to give that dream up. He ignored all the evidence that this is bullshit. All the evidence, he ignored every bit of it. And because he was so determined that this dream of his is finally going to come true. And I feel bad for that. I mean, I don't respect him for that because I think I think he ignored he went through every stoplight there was. He ignored every red light there was to race through there. But we all have stuff that happens in all our lives, and that happens to a lot of people we know. It's not just him; it happens to a lot of people we know, and a lot of times it's worse than that. It's much worse than that than what he ended up messing up, with.
And let me turn it away from the dungeon hobby shop and all things. He found love. He found true love, and his wife was by his side the entire time. And has been by his side for years. I'm sorry that they didn't meet each other earlier in life because I think his wife had a tremendous calming
absolutely effect. Yeah.
And so I guess I just think of Ernie's siblings. There's brothers and sisters with a hole in their heart. His mother. Think of his widow. Think of all this stuff. We're going into GaryCon 2 weeks from tonight, and all of this is just terribly sad.
And just look, think the people that have to say these really negative things now at this time. I want you, everybody here, if you're watching the video, whatever, think about what was the reason they had to bring it up right now, because the circumstances are going to be exactly the same in a week, in 2 weeks, in a month, in a year. Everything that happened in Ernie's life it's done. It's here. It's been done. Why would they bring it up right now unless it's to do me?
Well,
they clamor for attention.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, listen, the admin of Ancient Dungeons and Dragons players, Ernie was an active poster in this group, an active member, and yet the day he dies, the admin makes a big post about how bad a person Ernie was.
What a piece of garbage he is. Waited until he was dead. So couldn't reply.
Yeah, so Ernie was beneficial. What made the group look good by his actual presence. But once he was dead, he no longer had value. And those are the people I can't fucking stand. Listen, if you have a problem with somebody, when they're living is the time to bring it up. Not when they're dead and they can't defend themselves. Oh my God!
It's attention whores. It's the same people that get on TikTok and have to tell you every single thing about their life. I don't care. Just entertain me. Do a 5-minute song. Do a skit. Don't tell me about your life. I don't care, and I don't want all the intimate details either. And it's the same people that do that. It's all about it's social media. it's about, I want to be the first to rip Ernie, because I'm going to be on the record as the first one to rip Ernie and not be unhappy that he's dead.
I am always amused when people say, "Oh, there's a reason he was canceled." You know what? You didn't cancel Ernie.
What cancel? What? What is he? He wasn't. What were they doing? Yes, exactly.
I think to myself, you didn't have a single iota of an impact on this man's life or legacy in any way, shape, or form.
He doesn't
You've
know
tried.
No,
You've tried desperately. You've tried desperately to throw. You flung poo like a monkey, trying to get something to stick. And in the end, Ernie lived the life he wanted over the last few years. Even with all the shenanigans with the Dungeon Hobby Shop, he just kept making his merry way along. He got married. He had more life than people were willing to bet that he was going to have. And people loved him. And he was friends, and he had friends. And so I would say your canceling of Ernie was spectacularly unsuccessful. Look, I look at the people who were they were wrapping themselves in glory, talking bad about the man and how awful he was, and they couldn't even get the facts straight, right? They weren't pinning it on the people who actually wrote whatever the god-awful science fiction role-playing game was. They couldn't actually get it right that, there was somebody else at the Dungeon Hobby Shop, the person who bought the building, blah, blah, blah. They couldn't get any of this right in their fervor for taking the torches and pitchforks to a man that this started the next day after he passed away.
I always, I've always said this to Eric on our show a lot, and Jim's probably heard me say too. I'm a sucker for a redemption story, and I really wish that Ernie had lived longer, for no other reason than I think he had it in him still to redeem himself. And I really feel bad that he wasn't able to at some point say, look, I did this, and this, and I wish I hadn't. And look, if he lived longer, I think we would have gotten that. Because I'm a sucker for a second chance, for a redemption, and so he's not a perfect man, but my God, there should be a waiting period before you just jump on him and start bludgeoning him.
But Mike,
especially since his sins are so small, his sins are not huge. I mean, he didn't kill anybody, all right, that I know of. He didn't kill anybody, but come on, man.
I think what grates and irritates these people and drives them nuts is that, number one, their slings and arrows can find no purchase. That no matter what they throw at him, for the most part, he was out for a walk in a rainstorm with an umbrella, and most of the stuff never touched him. And number two, like many of us, as we've grown older, if you were to look behind me in my field of fucks, you will see that it is barren, and I have none to give, because Ernie just didn't care. Ernie cared about the people who, when he was in a period of his life where he had done some damage, he was apologetic towards the people that he felt he had wronged. I think he had really done a great job of embracing what Alcoholics Anonymous talks about in regards to trying to make amends. And Ernie had made amends.
And he never made himself a hero. He never made himself a hero by any means. He was very open about his flaws and how he got to the point he got to. He didn't sugarcoat it at all. He was not.
No, and again, I think the people that I saw, of course, nameless, faceless, anonymous people on Reddit, I just closed the post because I number one, you have to decide it's not going to make you angry. You have to choose to walk away from the content. You have to close the window, and you have to just say, okay, well, I see a lot of pinheads. I see people that have chosen to be aggrieved and angry, and they are furious that this person didn't do whatever it is they wanted, and frankly, he didn't even know they were alive. They weren't in his sphere. Ernie was a regular, Tom Wham, we'll talk about Tom later, but the Tom Wham has a little games day in Lake Geneva every Friday, and Ernie was somebody who liked to just show up and play games. And Ernie was a guy who liked to play games. And come on, like everybody watching this, in theory, we like to sit around and play games. We like to do this stuff. We like to spend time with our friends, and that's it.
There's a great story Harlan Ellison used to tell about when he met Frank Sinatra. And he says, this is a perfect example of a viewpoint. He said, so he was at a bar somewhere, I don't know, somewhere, and Frank Sinatra's are at a casino, and he bumped into Frank, and Frank got mad and yelled at him and threw him out, had him thrown out of the bar. You know, I'm Harlan Ellison. I don't give a shit who you are, you little punk. And he just tossed him out. And he said, he was reflecting on it later. He said, you know, that to me, that was one of the coolest days of my entire life. I mean, how many people have a story about being thrown out of a bar at Frank Sinatra? And Frank did not know who I was 1 hour after that happened. I never crossed his mind the rest of his life what he did, because he probably did that every night when somebody bumped into him. He said, but that just showed you the dynamic here. To me, it's one of the most interesting and coolest encounters I've ever had with a celebrity. To him, it was just Wednesday, and he doesn't know who I am. That's the way these people are that denigrate Ernie. You're Anonymous on the internet. He's a guy that grew up with the guy who wrote the game we all play, and that play tested all this stuff, and that worked at TSR and worked at, you know, the Dungeon Hop. I mean, he's got all the skins, and, you know, you've really got nothing. You're just you. You're just a dude.
Well, and let's talk about the great meme, right? Where it's from Mad Men, where the guy gets Don in the elevator and says, you know, don't you even feel sorry or whatever? And Don Draper's reply is like, I don't even think about you at all. and some people will see this as just being callous, but in some ways this is just healthy.
It's the truth.
You know, I don't know how to tell you this, but, you know, I don't think about you at all. Right.
Look, and I've had that happen with many. Look, I had a great interaction with Matthew Lazard at a Gamehole Con. He was a super nice. We talked about the show, The Bridge he was in, and we talked for 10 minutes, and it was great. He was a super nice guy. I will guarantee you he does not remember that conversation 3 years later. Yeah, no. I will say, hey, I got to meet Matt, and he was awesome, nice guy, this and that. He doesn't know. He doesn't remember that day, probably, and all the exciting days he's had in his life and all the movies he's been in and all the stars. That day, probably at Gamehole, he might not even remember he went to Gamehole. I don't know. But yeah, it's degrees, right? It's just degrees of what you're doing. And look, the people that are shouting the loudest on Reddit and on Facebook, I have to look at them like, these guys have done nothing. They're nothing. They're nothing.
So I want to segue from this into something else because it ties in really good. I'm going to keep this. If I seem a little detail light, it's because I'm really trying to be detail light. So as you know, I go to a lot of different shows, and I auctioneered a bunch of different shows, and so something's finally come to a head with a volunteer at one of these shows who misbehaved. I'm really trying to keep this pretty vague, right? But this person essentially misbehaved. And it's not like there are a lot of rules governing people volunteering at a show, but still this person did. And I was having a conversation about this, you know, we're going to do something to make sure this doesn't happen again, and so on and so forth. But I was talking to somebody about it, and I said, you know, like, the problem is I'm a Law and Order guy. Right, I'm a Law and Order guy. I don't play chaotic evil characters. I am pretty much a rules following guy. At some point, if you really want to hear a great story, you should ask me to tell you the story of when I moved to Canada about 10 years ago, because it's a barn burner about Jim Kitchen crossing the border with stuff, and it's. I'm absolutely the cross your T's, dot your I's. And the person I was talking to about this summed it all up, which is this person had a choice, right? This person had a choice to be honest or dishonest. And this person chose to not be honest. And that's okay, right? We all we all make choices every day, right? I lost a $20 bill in the last few days. I have no idea where it is. I was in a store. I have, I know the store owner. I said to him, I think I lost a 20. He says, I haven't seen it. I said, if somebody finds it, they're not going to report it to you. They're just going to they're just going to take the $20. And I said, and they've hit the lottery for that. But it made me think very much about, this, right? That we talk about Ernie and we talk about honest mistakes. We don't talk about, I had an inflection point and I had to choose, do I go this way or do I go this way? And the person that's volunteering at this show chose to go a path with consequences, and those consequences will catch up to this person and so on. But the person I was talking to about it said, this is too small a hobby for somebody to be that way, to indulge in that kind of behavior. And okay, at least you know who that person is now. And I'm like, I do, right? I do. And I'm sure I will see them at shows. I'm sure that I will see this person elsewhere out and about. I may see them on social media, but I now know that they hit a point and they had a I can go right or I can go left, and they chose the off ramp they chose, and that's it. And Ernie was not that guy. Ernie was not somebody who, okay, I know that this is right and this is wrong, and so yea, verily, I shall plunge down the path of wrong. Nope, that was not Ernie. Ernie was not that guy. Ernie was a decent human being. At heart, he was a decent human being. He cared about the people in his world. I've thought a lot about his friends in Lake Geneva. I've thought about the people that knew him and saw him on a regular basis. One of his best friends in the world is Tom Wham. And I think about Tom, watching people that he's known for the last, heaven help us, 50 odd years, and slowly one by one the lights are going out, and it's just terribly sad. It just, it's when you grow older, your world just starts to get smaller because you're starting to outlive your friends, you're starting to outlive your family. It's tough. It's very tough. My God, I've put Mike and Eric to sleep, folks. That's it for me. I'm done.
I'm just thinking, and I think we probably talk about this as long as we can, because we're making the same point over and over again, that he was not a bad human being. The people that are denigrating him need to look at themselves in the mirror, or nothing else. You need to look at them and say, why are these people doing this? But I think we're right. Yeah, I think we made a point on that. Is that, look, and this is tough because it's just part of the same old parade we've had for a few years, where all the originators of the hobby are all passing away, and it's gonna happen more and more often now. It's really sad, and I'm faced. Look, every time we make the guest list out for North Texas, I look at the people on there, and I'm heavily biased to, we need to ask this person and we need to have them as many times as we can to our con, because they have this much time left. And you need to think. And once again, Eric and I have said this a lot. When you go to conventions, you need to look these guys up. You need to say, man, you really changed my life. This is awesome. You're a great guy. Because you just don't know. You just don't know. And, with Ernie, we had a little warning, but even then, it sucks for anybody that wanted to meet the guy that can't meet him now. And they're going to have to listen to stories, which is, it's too bad. But
yeah, it is.
But don't, just, move past the wackos, and once again, I blame social media for being a bad caretaker of our society. Used in moderation, social media is fine. It's a wonderful thing. I get to talk to Eric and Jim, and we're in different parts of the United States, and I get to talk to everybody here. It's a wonderful thing, but it can be a terrible thing too when you get sucked into that world.
Social media. Listen, back in the day, you used to call it beer muscles, right? You'd be at the bar, you'd have too much to drink, and you'd say some stupid shit because you wouldn't think there would be any kind of repercussions because you had too much alcohol in you. But today, people just get to social media and are like, oh, I'm behind a keyboard. Nobody can, I'll just say whatever comes to my mind because there's no repercussions. And it is dangerous.
Virtual spines.
Yes. But the people that do this on online, you meet them in person. They're the first ones that are going to back off. Oh, I don't have a problem.
can't tell you how many times I've had that happen where somebody's a badass online, you meet them in person. Bad Mike, oh my God. Oh man, it's great to see you. Oh, okay, cool. And yeah, it's a totally different totally different when you have to see somebody in person. Eric's had this happen a few times too, where oh my God, it's Tenkar. I love your show, man. It's great. Oh, and Eric's like, do I need restraining order? Do I need to run? What am I gonna do?
Wait.
My default is taser.
Oh, there you go.
Right. They go in to hug you. I'm sorry.
I just had to be sure.
Come on, you need that little bro hug. Come here.
Oh God. Yeah. Oh yeah, I've had that happen. That's always fun. There was a guy very famously who, in the beginning days of the internet, ripped off a lot of people by selling rare D&D stuff. This is like the early 90s. Rare D&D stuff he didn't have. And back then there was little repercussion because we didn't have PayPal. You just sent somebody a check, money order, and they sent you back the stuff. And so, but he gave the bad name to everybody that did what I did and other people did. We're talking thousands of dollars worth of stuff that he just never sent. For years later, he worked shows in the New England area, and people would go up and say, dude, I sent you $500 for Vecna Lives. It's like, Bob, oh my God! Let me just tell you, look, come over to my booth. We're gonna make this right. However much you think I owe you, you just take that. And they said they leave they were the best of friends when they left, and shaking his hand.
I'm sorry, that conversation begins with a baseball bat and a knee.
Exactly. But there's some people that, like I said, once he faced these people, he's like, oh yeah, you need some stuff. Hey, here you go. I'm so sorry I ripped you off, so
I didn't rip you off.
I
got this.
He had an excuse. Yeah, it was a great excuse.
We've spoken before. There's a dealer who has been at NTRPG whose descriptions of products are laughable and whose pictures are always designed to hide the flaws you may not see. And this person has tried to friend me a couple of times on Facebook, and I have just been like, no, I'm good. Because really and truly, like, that kind of shitty dishonesty, I just have no time for, right? And the last round of friend requests that I got from this person, I'm just like, no, right? You are who you associate with. And if I wanted to be associated with somebody that sold moldy products with rusty staples and who photographed these things and sold them in RPG Market or at the show and tried to get away with it, I would feel less for it. Right?
I truly don't understand that, Jim, because look, I've been, for those who don't know, I've been selling online since 1994, 31 years. I mean, this is my 31st year. One of the very first sellers of used RPG stuff on the internet. That's my one claim to fame, maybe. That and dressing up like the devil. But that's why a lot of people do that, though. No. And I can't live with myself if I sold stuff that was not how I described it. And if I did make a mistake, I have always made that mistake up. But, always made up for that mistake, because you have a reputation in this business and you don't stick around for 10, 20, 30 years if you're selling people shitty stuff. You can't do it. You can't do it in the business that long. Any business, not just this business.
I got nothing. Because I
had something that came across. A lot of people told me I needed to watch this video by Bob the World Builder. Eric was told the same thing, so I watched today. Eric got a synopsis of it.
Yes,
Jim is coming into this raw, so we're gonna get Jim's opinions on this. So basically, he went over his whole video. It's like 22-minute video. Great video if you want to watch it. Watch it. Eric's probably gonna link it. It's 22 minutes. He goes over all the RPG Kickstarter since 2014. So the last 10 years of Kickstarters, he does both Kickstarters and Backer Kit. He did a lot of research for this. He found all the Kickstarters that were over $100,000, and he divided those into non-5e related and 5e related. And he took the data for this for 10 years. It's a really fascinating, interesting video. he did this in response to Ben Riggs had written a year ago, wrote a column that said is the golden age of TTRPGs is over. And in this, or is dead. The golden age of TTRPGs is dead. You can find that online too. And he said that from here on out, everything's downhill. We're going to make less money, and this is going to happen. Everything's going to get bad, because 5e is going to hell, and with 5e going to hell, everybody's going to go to hell. It's a big doom and gloom type thing. But he does leave some, we're still going to have games. Games are going to be around this, that. It's just not going to be making the kind of money or bringing the kind of audiences we have now. So Bob does this video where it shows that, like, the first year, 2014, there's like five or six gaming Kickstarters over $100,000, and he picked $100,000 was kind of an arbitrary number. That anything over that was considered what he called a big Kickstarter. There was no 5e related at all. The next year there was about 7, and maybe 1 was 5e. The next year 8, 1 was 5e, and after that the SRO came out. Then the number went up, so there was like 10 regular ones and 10 OGL. So anyway,
I don't have 22 minutes in my life to watch a video from a guy who hasn't updated his personal blog since July of 2024. It's
a good video.
I'm just not going.
So let me get to the point. So he goes during the COVID years. Well, Stranger Things, COVID, all these different factors. We get to where there's over 100 Kickstarters with over $100,000. Some of those obviously over $1 million. At some point, it's half of those are 5e related. So you're going to have, you have like 48 regular, and then, 7th C or whatever, and then 48.
I'm waiting for it. Let's hit me with it. Come on. Where's the point?
Here we go. So here's the good part. So he gets to the last 2 years. The 5e related content goes, okay. And now we're seeing all these Kickstarters without 5e relations are the big money makers in the hobby. Now, what does this mean? I don't know. It could mean a lot of things, but I think it means, hello, Owlbear.
The Owlbear of Truth has a point and is ready when you are.
So I think the point of this was that the hobby's doing fine. It's just not doing great for 5e. Oh, you guys want to play that game? I'll play it. All
right. The Owlbear of Truth is going to say something, which is that this is all as I have prophesied. And it is
as the prophecy.
It is as the prophecy was written. That as it was written, so it has become. Truth. Which is, come on. I have said time and time again, 5e has plateaued. And everybody who played 5e for a decade decided to look at other things, which is why you have things like Shadow Dark, and why you have things like DCC, and why you have super hot Rainbow Unicorn Patrol, whatever it is, right? But you can only play so much 5e, and then.
But the hobby's doing fine, and the over $100,000 Kickstarter are still way up there. And like I said, some of them are over $1 million. I mean, Cosmere. What did Cosmere do last year? $9 million freaking dollars. I mean, come on. That's as far away from 5e as you can get. The Kickstarter / backer kit world right now is people are more drawn into interesting ideas like Cosmere, stuff like that, than they are to it has to be a 5e product. And that's good for the hobby, I think. Am I wrong? I think that's what you want to see right now, especially since there is preliminary data that 5.5, whatever it is not doing great, Eric. Am I wrong? Because I know you did a video on this.
Well, actually, it's a video I haven't done yet.
Oh.
But no, the others certainly have. Whether it's Roll for Combat, whether it's Professor DM, they've all looked at, even the pundit, they've all looked at Hasbro's last quarter earnings, and they aren't going in the direction that you would expect with a new edition.
They're okay though. I mean, they're okay.
They kind of like talk about D&D in the last quarter earnings, which is strange since you just released a new edition at the end of the year. So, and by the way, the Project Sigil is now just Sigil. It's no longer a project, and it's an open beta but it's really, really
It's
jacked.
still pretty. Yeah, it's wonky. It's
Unless
very
you're a
wonky.
master tier subscriber at D&D Beyond, you're not doing much with it.
It's very wonky, but so anyway, he had some digs at Ben Riggs towards the end of the video that were made in good jest, but I thought it was, like I said, the data he had to go through. I give him applause because he had to go through a lot of data to get those points. But it was interesting. It's very interesting that we're having that. We don't even think it's weird now to have $1 million Kickstarters in gaming. I mean, the fact that Shadow Dark made over $1 million, that Tales of the Valiant, then Dolman would over $1 million. That's great. We look at that and go, wow, that's great. But it's not like, oh my God, I can't believe an RPG made that much money. It's not weird anymore. We've almost come to expect that kind of thing. But it's good that it's not always going to be a 5e title. That's the great part about it. And I think that's good for the hobby, man. That's really good for the hobby. That now, is it the Starbucks effect? If we get rid of 5e goes downhill, are we going to lose something in the hobby? Because I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But I think
Starbucks effect. There's so many independent coffee houses. You can't spit in New York City without hitting somebody coming out of
the Starbucks effect. So in other words, Starbucks like 5e. They've already made their mark, and Starbucks could go away. And everybody's like, oh, okay, we got tons of coffee houses now. Way to go, Starbucks. We appreciate it. That's awesome.
The problem is that Starbucks thinks they're the only coffee in the world, and the problem for Starbucks is that McDonald's sells a shit ton of coffee. Your local gas station sells a shit ton of coffee. The mom and pop cargo container coffee shops sell a lot of coffee. The bikini baristas sell a lot of coffee, and hundreds of thousands of variations of this theme are selling a lot of coffee. And Starbucks can lament they can ignore and lament these other presences, but it doesn't mean that the guy who gets his coffee from the Quick Trip, or the guy who gets his coffee from the McDonald's, or the guy who simply puts up with the office coffee, it doesn't mean that any of that is bad. I think 5e was only going to go so far. I'm joking with the owlbear, but the fact of the matter is that 5e could only be as big as it was for a while, and then it needed to go to something else.
It had a great run. I mean, 10 years is a great freaking run. This is
a phenomenal run, and nobody disputes that. But again, your audience matured, your audience grew bored, your audience had wanderlust, your audience wanted to look at other things and try other things. Somebody in the comments, Fugly said, well, does that mean 5.0 is the new OSR? Not for another 20, 25 years, but at some point, 30 years from now, people our age then will be like, I remember 5e, and I remember when this came out, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And
you remember, remember feats and character trees? Holy crap.
Oh my God. It's all online now. It's all AI. AI runs our dungeons now. Good Lord. You used to be a dungeon master? Oh man, that's cool.
Tell me more of this strange world.
Snoop Dogg runs my games for me via AI.
God, Snoop Dogg will be like 95 then.
I just look forward to when the AI will be able to create a 3-dimensional GM, DM based on a historical character, so that you could have Marilyn Monroe running your game, or Jim Morrison. Like, I mean, that could be a lot of fun, right? Like, you're going to be like, I could have the angriest GM in the world. I'm going to have Eminem running my Call of Cthulhu game, right? And Eminem's grandkids are like, oh yeah, we signed the rights to that, man. And he's going to be all 8 Mile in your D&D game, and it's going to be amazing. It's just
Jim Morrison would be a terrible D&D runner. I read his autobiography. He could not. He had ADD. Could not concentrate on something longer than 5 minutes. He'd be a terrible DM. I'm just telling you. Your game would be 30 minutes long because he'd kill everybody because he'd want to go smoke dope or play a song or something. So Jim would not be a good choice. But you should try it though.
Have you ever?
Speaking of great DMs on drugs, Alan Hammock is now in the house. I see. Alan,
he's a lover, not a fighter.
I'm sorry. Alan's one of our favorite people here. We love Alan. Alan, a guest at North Texas. A guest. I don't think he's going to GaryCon this year, but he will be at North Texas.
No, he won't be at GaryCon.
Well,
or as we could call it, the primordial soup of what flu is going through Wisconsin now.
Alan had one of the greatest lines.
Oh.
No, I'm sorry, it wasn't Alan. It was Steve. I get Alan and Steve Winter mixed up because they look exactly alike. No, but Steve had one of the greatest lines last year. He said, "I do believe that at the Lake Geneva, they're actually pumping out pneumonia through the vents because so many
You
people."
wouldn't want to miss out.
I love this show. This is great. I think we could get 12 people at the table. This is awesome.
So many people get sick there, but you have a convention in March. Yeah, you're gonna.
We've talked to all of this stuff before. We've talked about how all of this plays out, and it does. It plays out the same way every time. We have a whole generation of people. 10 years is a hell of a run. But they can't just keep playing the same thing over and over. There's people that are going to drift out of the hobby. There's people that are going to go 5.5 or whatever we're calling it. There's people that are going to go to Call of Cthulhu and so on and so forth. And the market is just going to change, right? Coffee, much to Wizards' lament, coffee can be purchased in many other forms and in many other ways. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people don't even want coffee, right? Like I have a Coca-Cola problem, right? I had a pot of coffee poured on me as a kid. I was like 4, in the kitchen, and my great aunt Beulah took the pot of coffee off of the range and didn't know I was directly behind her and poured it down my back. And the smell of coffee and a burning bacony smell was bad news.
Should we had you know what? I'm gonna play the X card here. We should have had a trigger warning before that. I'm sorry.
But
man.
I'm not a person who can do coffee, right? It was 25 years before I could even be around people drinking coffee. And so whatever it is, right? Like I don't wake up every day and say, my day starts with 5e and it's going to end with 5.
No.
Every day.
But Jim, you acknowledge that there are people that was that D&D to them was 5e. That's what they knew. That's what they played. That's all they knew and all they played. And I think what we're seeing now is people are moving a little bit out of that comfort zone. Maybe they'll okay, I'll play a game of Call of Cthulhu, or okay, I'll play Shadow Dark's kind of like 5e, right? Okay, yeah, I'll play Shadow Dark because for a while they used to call, and Jim, you know this, you're a comic book guy. Remember Marvel Zombies? Marvel Zombies was the guy who, no matter what, every month walked to the counter. I want every Marvel title, all 20. I don't care if it's Team America or Bad She-Hulk. I just want and they would call them Marvel Zombies because Marvel counted these guys to buy whatever crap they put out because they would.
Yep.
And that's kind of what you have. You had 5e zombies. You had these 5e people that all they played was 5e. They played 5e online. They played 5e at cons. They were just 5. To them, D&D was 5e. And
I think the analogy I would say is that these are people who are realizing there is not just one true God. That the scales have fallen away from their eyes, and that they can see that there are a panoply of things that they can look at and embrace and go with. And I'm happy for that, right? I'm happy every time we talk about one of these Kickstarters that's had a tremendous amount of success. I'm very happy about this. This is a good segue. So Tom Wham Games launched MooseQuest yesterday, and it was funded in 7 hours. Awesome. And we haven't had a chance to talk about. I mean, we've mentioned it a few times off and on here and there, but it's already funded, right? At this point, it's all gravy, and it's all going towards Tom Wham, one of the nicest people in the world. And Tom's had 2 people that have helped him bring this to market. We're going to talk about this in a week or so.
Yes, next week, as a matter of fact.
Yes, and so, but more than anything else, right? This is great. It's not like that the world is suffering from a lack of card games. No, but what's so great about this is somebody we all love. This is somebody we cherish as a part of this hobby. Who worked at TSR, who came up with game after game after great game, and is finally getting a little hint of that success that Kickstarter can give. You know, the Kickstarter page now has the banner funded in 1 day. Like, that's phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
It'll just pick up speed. They got 26 days to go, 27, 26, 28, 26, 27 days to go. Like, this is the kind of stuff that's phenomenal. And nobody is saying, wait, sir, we have too many card games. We don't need another card game. I think we're good. You know, none of that. And nobody is going to be like, I have to set my copy of Catan on fire because now I'm only going to be a card gamer. No, you can do all this stuff.
No, you're right. And I think that's one of the great things about the platform is that you can have stuff like this. And like I said, next week we'll have Kim on, and she's going to tell us all about the Kickstarter, and we advise everybody here to back the Kickstarter because you can always use another. Look, Tom's games are incredible. Everything he writes is great. I love. Oh my gosh!
What?
Awful Green Things About Her Face is the first thing. Awful Green Things About Her Face. First thing I played. I loved his. What was the one that was Dragon Magazine 51?
Those Kings and Things.
Search for the Emperor's Treasure.
I love that game. I have played that game 100 times. That was our beer and pretzels game. We pull that out and play it all the time.
And it's even better when you actually blend Awful Green Things and Search for the Emperor's Treasure. And I have my rules set, and I can tell you how to do that.
Oh my God. Awesome.
So it's too much fun, right?
So yeah, definitely take a look at this. Eric will probably try to link it in the.
I already linked it. The link went up. Went up. And
he's on top of it.
I'm not
he's on fire. But if you haven't,
put it up again.
Here's the other thing. Here's the sweet spot. Here's the sweet spot about MooseQuest. If it's on campaign right now, they're going to fulfill it at some point at the end of summer-ish, early fall. But sweet heavens to Betsy, think about this right now. They have a deal where if you buy 6, you get a discount on a box pack, which is like the easiest thing you can do for giving a Christmas present ever. I would really point that out to people. It's one of the little hidden gems in the Kickstarter. So you can get a copy for yourself, get a box of 6, give them out as Christmas presents, and spread the joy of MooseQuest.
Because I guarantee, kids will be able to play it. It'll be great.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to say this. One of my nieces is like, whatevs. But the other niece, the older niece, absolutely loves MooseQuest. I gave her one of my handmade MooseQuests. She likes it so much, she shared it with her circle of friends, and they're all like, what is this game? Where can I get this game? And so, MooseQuest. It's for everybody. I've even got my mother-in-law to play MooseQuest. And she was like, oh, it's a mammoth that thinks it's a moose. I'm like, it is a mammoth that thinks it's a moose. Shh, we're not telling her.
Why is that bad?
Is that bad? No. If the mammoth identifies as a moose, who are we to judge, and why would we question it? I don't care. I just don't. So, what else we got this week? My God,
Eric and I had a show today that you missed, Jim. That we for an hour we talked about something that, we talked about it, but we wouldn't mind hearing your opinion of it too. We did a little review of the introductory D&D set coming out of what we could see of it, and I am happy that they are using the keeping the Borderlands. And you know me, I'm usually the first one to say, oh, there we go again. WotC has no imagination. They're digging in the well again because they're so creatively bereft. But I'm going to tell you, in this case, I think they did a good thing, because this is the quintessential beginning adventure there. This is just it. You have your base of operations, you have your wilderness, you have your dungeon adventure, you have everything you need in the Keep of the Borderlands. Now, I don't know how they've changed it up. I'm looking at what's in the box, and there's a lot of tchotchkes. There's a lot of stuff in here.
If they don't have the phrase "Bree Yark, we burn it to the ground."
Well, okay, that's the kind of thing we're talking about, because Bree Yark is a Gygaxism, and one of the things that was brought up by Eric that I don't know is how much of Gygax is going to remain in this, because they have
Well,
shown a tendency to run away from anything Gygax the last couple of years.
but then the question I have is, we all know that the reason B2 exists is because Mike Carr was making too much money on In Search of the Unknown.
Right. Yeah, I told that story today. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Gygax is like, whoa, hold on there, Luke.
I'm writing these huge checks to Mike Carr. I could be writing these checks to me.
Why is this money going this way? This money could perhaps be going a different way. And so the question I have is, did Gary sell this to TSR? I'm guessing that he did it. But then the question that comes to my mind is the Gygax estate going to get any money for B2 being the setting? I would assume not, but the questions are easy. I look at this, and so obviously we've got 4 things. We've got Keep on the Borderlands, which is the folder that will have the maps and so on. We've got Heroes of the Borderlands, so here's your pre-gens. We've got the Wilderness, okay, and then we've got the caves themselves, and okay, like sure, but I'm looking and I see a PC named Cornflower.
I'm going to say that's a halfling. I don't know, but I don't know.
Maybe it's the dwarf baker, and they've run out of cornflower. Did you ever think
you would have fit in perfectly with our discussion today, Jim? This is exactly so.
But we have a hero with a late 90s Pamela Anderson barbed wire tattoo.
But she's moving. It's moving day at the office, as Eric said.
Yeah,
she's moving.
Got to move her
that's a really dynamic pose. That's such
Here's
a dynamic
your milk crate. Move yourself 40 feet across the floor. Making few trips as possible. Pile it up. What the hell is that? Come on. What?
Oh, I'm sure that this is one of these workspaces where nobody has an assigned desk, and you just have to every day shuffle to find your spot.
God damn it.
Okay, so yes, I'm going to say there's potential problems here, but I am still buoyed by the idea of using Keep on the Borderlands, depending on how much of Gygax is still in there, and if not, if they didn't just rewrite the whole thing. Because one of my issues is in the ravine that has the Caves of Chaos, you have all these different humanoid creatures that have caves.
Okay, no, wait. The starter set looks pretty good. I like the cover. That's actually a better color cover than I would have thought. I would have thought it would have been another one of their pastel-y, purplish, tepid things. But that's actually, I like that art direction. So of course, they're fighting
an actual dragon, Jim, that first level fighters could fight instead of an Elmore ancient red dragon that's going to look at you and go,
images and content not final.
Oh yeah, so that's the death knell right there. It won't look half as cool as this. It will be something tepid. It will be something too much Vaseline on the camera lens. And
well, they had the dwarves in the player's handbook, and they were baking scones, and so.
Speak not of the sconery. Oh,
but I'm cautiously. Maybe I'm just a lover, not a fighter. I'm cautiously optimistic, man. I like I said, this could. I have some warning shots. There's some red flags here, but I think as a whole, I think that's the right direction. I don't know what the particulars are going to be. Like I said, I'd love to read this and see.
Here's the thing. The video itself that this is sourced on is about 46 seconds long. I did cover it within my own video over the weekend. Here's the thing that isn't in the article, but it kind of looks like it is. It's a card-based game. Everything that your character needs is going to be on a playing card.
Yeah, but that's what they've done with all these awful starters.
They have to dumb it down for beginners. Yes.
I mean, the starter sets, the thing that's been the hallmark of all their starter sets since 5th E came out is that the box is pretty thin. It's got paper in it. It's got a map. It's got pre-gen characters. And so what you're saying about the cards, those are the pre-gens, right? That's what I see.
Magic items on cards, all that stuff.
Yeah. So, none of that surprises me at all.
Okay.
None of that surprises me at all. I think what will surprise me is, will the box have dice in it? You should get a set of dice. And number 2 is, I don't believe that our generation should bitch about what's in the basic set when you look at some of the stuff that we got. Like modules were, what is it? A 16-page, like G1 through 3, D1 through 3. They were like 16-page booklets with a cardboard with a one art on the outside, map on the inside, wrapped around a piece of cardboard.
Actually, I think G1 through 3 was extra thick because it was the 3 modules. I think it was like 32 pages with the
no, but the G1, G2,
G3.
Those are tiny. Yeah, those are
8 pages each, 10 pages.
Yeah, those are tiny.
Ridiculous.
And I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I'm just like, I don't care about that so much as I'm more interested in the encounter. Like, I want to know about the Hermit. Because they've given the Hermit. What's interesting is they carved the Hermit out as a separate item. There's the wilderness, there's the keep, there's the wilderness, there's the caves, there's the characters, and we have the Hermit. And so, what's the Hermit going to be? Is the Hermit?
Is he going to be mad or just mad, just angry mad, or can they actually devote mental illness? I mean, is that like off limits?
They're never going to say that. They're never going to say that the Hermit is mentally ill, because that would be disparaging of people who are taking a lot of Zoloft or something else. So he's going to be the Hermit. And my guess is, hold on. My guess is that the Hermit will be a character, an NPC, to act as sort of the guidepost to adventures, right? It's a lot easier to do that than to say the Hermit's crazy, kids. The Hermit's crazy. And the Hermit is unmedicated. He's going to help you out. And by the way, he's wearing a turnip on his belt because that was the fashion back in the day.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, the man Hermit was bad, man. He sicked his giant cat on you, and your first level, that thing was tearing up our party, just like whack, whack, whack. We're like, what? We thought this guy was okay. He was living in a tree. That should have been the first warning sign. He's living in a damn tree, and we should have figured it out.
If your pillow is moss, you have issues. So
earlier today, Mike was actually reading from the intro of the original adventure. And we had to go, they can't have that. They can't have that.
Let's do this. And I want you to red flag ding whenever you get a red flag now that's not going to be in the version. So Eric was red. So here we go. This is the introduction. The realm of mankind is narrow and constricted. I would go ding on mankind. That's
yes.
Always the force of chaos press upon its borders, seeking to enslave its populace. Ding, rape its riches, ding, and steal its treasures, ding. That would be, I'm sorry, we don't enslave anymore, we don't rape, and we redistribute wealth, we do not steal. If it were not for a stout few, many in the realm would indeed fall prey to the evil which surrounds them. Yet there are always certain exceptional and brave members of humanity, as well as similar individuals among the allies, dwarves, elves, and halflings. Oh, there's no tieflings here.
As long as there's no
the common level, and join battle to stave off the darkness which would otherwise overwhelm the land. See, now here's what I'm looking. So the original Keep on the Borderlands, I thought it was more detailed on what it was. It's not really. So it's just keep, and there's the border. There's bad things out there. It's trying to keep these bad things out of the civilized area. And somebody mentioned in our chat today, said, well, is this going to be colonialized? In other words, but I don't think so, because the original wasn't either. The original wasn't about conquering the land and enslaving the populace and cutting down the trees. That was never the point. The point was to keep the bad things away from civilization. So I don't know how they're going to deal with that in the new one. They're just going to say, look, this is just...
First, it will begin with a willowy and enticing description of Northern European socialism / Marxism, 60% taxes for the state. It will start with we are establishing a community based on taking care of us as a whole, and all boats will lift. And then it will talk about displacing somehow all of these creatures in the case of chaos to better environments. But at the same time, there's probably going to be some land rituals. There'll be, what was it the other night?
Well, that's the other thing too. You have this ravine with all these evil humanoids in it, but now that we've had the rework of
That's good.
orcs, I think goblins are still evil.
These are the ancient lands of the Grumsh orcs. Prior to the Grumsh orcs, the Gnobby goblins used to live and worship and take care of these.
They were
lands.
free. They were just free. They weren't bothering anyone. And then here these humans come and you know, we want your caves of chaos. As
hold
humans,
on. We should point out that currently in the chat, Alan's putting the moves on Jen.
Oh my God, it's embarrassing.
I'm just Alan. Calm down.
Are you sure she's not putting the moves on him? Because I'm seeing a different thing here. I'm seeing
shenanigans.
I'm seeing her preying on a vulnerable older man, and I don't think that's very nice. No, but seriously, but yeah, I mean, so they're going to have to change some stuff up to do their recent sensibilities about stuff.
It'll go through a filter. And again,
that pains me. It pains me.
Let's lean way back and recognize that we are not the target audience.
No,
right? Think about the 10-year-old kid, the 12-year-old kid that gets this and this is their first step into all of this. And I always try to think about that, because we are not the target audience. Despite however many copies we have tucked away in our closets, we are not the target audience. The target audience is somebody who, and I worked at the Century Box a couple of Christmases where literally I was the person selling these to moms and dads. They're like, where do we start? Like, you have this gigantic section and I don't know where I start. And I would be like, you start here. You start here and don't buy the hardcovers yet. Start here. There's enough to do in the starter box set that they're going to get a sense of what it is. If you are going to run the adventure, you need to read everything at least twice and get a handle of what's going to happen. Make sure you understand that and run with it. And that's it. Right? We're not the target audience. We're the old guys that want to be like, Briark. And we won't get Briark. I might hope we get Briark, but we won't get Briark. I hope we do, but we won't.
No.
So we'll see.
Well, like I said, I'm interested in seeing what they do with the Caves of Chaos. And if they going to have, because look this way. Look, there's good humans and there's bad humans, right? There's bandits that they're trying to rob you. There has to be some kind of conflict in the D&D world 5e. There has to be bad things out there. So there can be bad orcs and good orcs, right? And bad goblins and good. I mean, if that's the way they want to play it, you can say there's bad, whatever fill in the blank things out there. And that's something that they want to do bad things to you. I don't see how they're going to run a fantasy medieval based adventure game without having some kind of opponents to battle.
I'm going to bet, Mike, that the opponents are humans most often. Human bandits, human outlaws, just saying.
Why are you battling them though? Shouldn't you just be rehabilitating them? I mean, maybe they're bandits because they're poor peasants and they have to rob you. How dare you go out and kill them, Eric?
Well, maybe they are all Robin Hood. What can I tell you? Maybe they are. Maybe that's
maybe the keep's the bad guys.
Maybe social work is going to be one of the new classes that they're going to come out in the next supplement. I don't know. Even Rach would roll her eyes at that one. Trust me.
Let me live my dreams, and I'm going to pretend like the keep on the Borderlands, using that as their beginning adventure. I'm going to still believe that's a good thing. I'm going to close my eyes and mightily hope and wish upon a star that means that there's good things ahead. And that,
if you've never been kissed, the notion of braces possibly being injurious is not in your head, right? And the 12-year-old that gets this, that wants to, the 6th grader that gets this for their birthday or something, just wants to have fun. And no matter what it is that they've done, no matter what filters they've put it through, kids are going to have fun. They're going to kill monsters and they're going to get treasure. And you can't stop the signal. Oh, God help me. I made a Firefly reference. I'm so sorry. I'm deeply ashamed. I'm deeply, deeply ashamed. So, yeah.
I see, for a second there, I was like, is that a Pump Up the Volume reference?
No, unfortunately, I've seen bits and pieces of Pump Up the Volume, but I was like, if I was going to have a Will Smith free millennium, I probably had a pretty much a Slater. What's his name? Slater.
Christian
Yeah,
Slater,
most of the
yeah.
90s. Yeah, Christian Slater. I just after Heathers, what more was there to watch, right? Cuffs. That's only one of the worst direct-to-video movies I've ever seen. Oh, that's terrible.
Oh, that is
terrible
bad.
stuff.
The soundtrack though was good. So that was the highlight. No.
Christian Slater had a comeback. He's a good second banana guy on TV shows and movies now. He's made a career out of doing the John Malkovich kind of being in the background bad guy thing. So
he's like Kenny Chesney, right? When you see pictures of early Kenny Chesney, you're like, no, right? Mullet and hand-me-down Garth Brooks pattern shirts from the early 90s, and you're just like, whoa, this is a train wreck, kid. Just stop. And it took Kenny Chesney growing older, getting dumped by what's-her-name, lifting weights and discovering alcohol and shaving his head. And now he's doing just fine. He fills arenas, and he's got his shtick, and he's doing just fine. But sometimes it takes growing older.
I'm shooting for that too. I'm going to do all that in a couple of years.
I've not really been left with much of a choice, so yeah, it's coming.
That's gonna be my comeback too. So I can't wait.
An arena tour. I look forward to Satan's arena tour.
Oh, it's gonna be great, and plenty of drugs, plenty. Because I've been lax in that part of my life. I want to make up for lost time in my 60s. So yeah, definitely. Mushrooms, definitely mushrooms. Funny powder, yeah, all that stuff, yeah.
No. Terminal illness. If I get diagnosed with a terminal illness, there's going to be I'm going to oversee the sale. Then I'm going to go to the Electric Daisy Carnival, and I'm going to get my sequined bikini, and I'm going to tape $100 bills all over me. I'm going to take a handful of recreational pharmaceuticals, and I'm just going to disappear into the crowd, and they'll never see me again.
I like this movie. I like this documentary.
Well,
I'll watch this docudrama. I definitely will watch this docudrama.
You're gonna ask my kid, where did your dad go? I don't know. I've seen footage at the EDC, right? But then I'm gone, and that's it.
Maybe Viking funeral. You never know.
No,
I mean we could do that.
You can't take it with you. Although I could.
Oh no, we're gonna load all your D&D stuff and then do the Viking funeral. It's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be great.
It will certainly be incendiary, that's for sure.
There'll be people running in there and jumping and grabbing things. No, not the Elmore.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, anyway, so I'm gonna choose to ignore my caution of my experience and say that I think this is a good thing they're doing. Keep with the Borderlands. By the way, nothing beats the original. If you've got this baby, look, take it out and read it, because after talking on the show with Eric today, I had to bring it out. It's genius. It's just sheer genius. Okay, it's great. And so
it was written as a way to get less money going to Mike Carr,
right?
But
that's
truthfully, it's a great start, right? Okay, we wiped out one cave.
It's got the key.
Let's go back, re-equip, heal up, and go back. Right?
Yeah,
just keep going.
It's got the keep. You have your base operations. They have all the wilderness, so you can have any kind of wilderness adventure you want. Just there's lizardmen, there's all kinds of stuff there. And then you've got the Caves of Chaos if you need a destination to go to, caves where you want to explore and beat up bad things. It's perfect. It's the perfect low-level adventure for starting out characters. I have started a kids game, and one of my favorite kids games ever was my grandkids, and I did Keep of the Borderlands, and they walk up, and the first thing the guy does, he asks you, what do you do? Because they don't want to just let any bozo or Yahoo in the gates. You got to have something you're providing. I said, what do you want? I'm sorry, I messed up. I said my grandkids. I meant my godson, my goddaughter, and my daughter. I jumped a whole generation there. They walked up, and I said, okay, what do you guys do? What do you need here? And they're like, what do we do? Like, Well, he's asking you, what are you going to do inside here? My godson is, I take my sword and I swing and I hit the. So, needless to say, the campaign began with him camping out in the woods, where they were chased by the guards after he swung and killed the head of the captain of the guards because he asked him what he was going to do there. I was like, okay, you learn by experience, right? Next time he won't do that. So they had to find. They found a cave in the woods, and they ended up, the other members of the party snuck in and do stuff in the keep, but no, my godson's character was banished to the cave in the woods because of what he did. It's great. It's awesome. It's an awesome adventure.
The first time I went to the Caves of Chaos, we wanted to go left. We didn't want to go right. We didn't want to hit the lower levels, and instead we bulldozed right into the angriest owlbear ever.
Oh, the owlbear, yes.
And it was not a friendly owlbear.
He wasn't plushy. He wasn't a plushie.
It was an angry owlbear.
Oh dear, that's never good.
And it just tore through everything. It just tore through everything. So it was bad.
Chris is in the house. Hello, Chris. Man, we're lit tonight. Look at this. We got Alan Hammock. We got Alan and. Oh, good. We have all these gaming personalities, man. We must be popular.
Awesome. No.
I don't know about that.
Oh, and Gary just popped in, too.
Gary's been here.
Oh, yeah. I didn't pay attention to him. I haven't been paying attention to him.
Let's see. What other? Oh, I saw something very interesting. I saw something D&D miniature related. So WizKids has announced the next series is Creatures from the Underdark. And I haven't had a chance to dive into it, but my God, they've discovered glow-in-the-dark plastic.
Oh,
and so a bunch of the miniatures are going to be enhanced with glow-in-the-dark elements. And I live for this. This is going to be better than anything because I am like a glow-in-the-dark blacklight. Have at it, man. I'm all there.
You're going to get all the figures. You're going to bake them under the light so they'll.
Here, would you like Eric? I want you to watch as I lay our other co-host out.
Are
you ready?
Here we go.
Okay.
Brace yourself. You might not see another one.
Oh, the lovely Medusa.
It is an original Marvel Blacklight Medusa.
Oh, the Jack Kirby Medusa.
Okay.
Beautiful.
I don't know if it was Medusa or Tina Louise that ruined me on Redheads, but somewhere in there.
Do you need to get stoned before you blacklight that, or can it just work its magic by itself?
It's pretty spectacular without blacklight, but under blacklight, it's just.
Oh, baby.
So.
Are we talking about this?
No, that's not it. So let me get a link to it. Hold on. I'm sorry. So there's they just sent it out. Let me see. Let me find a link. I'll get you the.
Yeah.
So this is their next. Yeah, it's Secrets of the Underdark. And
drop it in the chat, and I will put it up.
I'm working on it, boss. I'm working on it. Man, crowd. Holy shit. So yeah, it took me forever to find that Medusa poster. It took me forever to find a really great one, in good condition. And so I got to get this framed, and I'm very excited. Okay, so I sent you the link. So it's part of the Icons of the Realms, and they are introducing trademarked Dungeon Glow. A glow-in-the-dark dynamic to select parts of the miniatures. Available in a variety of colors, it changes the effect charges under light, creating, and I quote, an immersive glow that enhances your tabletop experience when the lights go down, baby. Yeah.
Chicka-bow.
All right, but hey, they don't. What the heck? There's no example. Hey.
What?
I'll find something. Hold on. I'll get you another link. You keep talking.
What the hell? No, they don't have a picture?
I'm working on it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Pre-order notice.
Tough crowd, man.
It will not ship until the product release date.
All right. Go into the internets. Hold on.
Countless
Anyway, so I
creatures
saw this and
like
I
dark
thought this was,
mantles, hook horrors, umber hulks, and gelatinous cubes. 44.
oh yeah, that's a party if I ever heard of one.
44 pre-painted miniatures in this set of randomly sorted monsters from the Underdark. It includes a great selection of building a robust collection of Dungeons and Dragons' most popular creatures, or preparing for an Underdark focus campaign.
I got your Underdark right here, baby.
All right, I've got my glow in the dark die 12
Careful.
here.
See,
way-
we can't say glow in the dark because the
I'm
first
sorry.
thing I think about is the John Ritter movie, Skin Deep, that Blake Edwards made, where there were objects glowing in the dark. Oh, look at that. Well played. I'm trying to think if I have anything. Nothing handy right off.
This is one of the so there was a bunch of really cool stuff at GameStop released last year to coincide with the D&D movie. And of course, me being Bad Mike, I waited till everything was on discount, get rid of it, sale. And this is one of the items that I think they discounted like $5. And dude, this is a wonderful present for $5. I can stare at this all day, man. I'm not even high. Not even high. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm looking to see this Dungeon Glow. Anyway, they're not. Usually they have a whole preview of the miniatures up, but they don't yet. So anyway,
we trust you. We believe you.
Yeah.
So get your Dungeon Glow. Get your Dungeon Glow, and get your Blacklight posters of Medusa, and or Sue Storm. You know
they didn't do a Sue Storm. There's a really great Thor one with Sif. There's a good one of that. There is a Fantastic Four poster, but it's kind of there's a Silver Surfer that's pretty flippin' magnificent.
All right, Jim, my Google foo has a result here. Hold on a second.
Dear.
Oh boy. Throw it up.
I am.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, that's the Beholder.
Okay, I'm in. I like it.
And that's the only thing that we have is the Beholder.
Yeah.
All right.
That's pretty cool.
It's mushroomy. It's kind of mushroomy.
Yeah.
Is that even a beholder? It looks like a mushroom.
Oh, yeah. Is it the fake Beholder, maybe? The mushroom?
Oh, the gas spore? Maybe it's a
Yeah.
gas spore.
Yeah, because look, it has that lower area where it's like gaseous. Or
Well, they actually made a gas spore look cool.
yeah.
Can you really? All right, I think I found another picture, Eric. I'm going to try to send it to you.
All righty.
Look for our super secret chat. Hold on.
Super secret chat.
I know. Okay, I've sent it now. You can see a couple more things in it, but not.
Yes.
Let's see. While Eric's bringing that up, I don't know what else interesting. We're still a couple of weeks away from the Shadow Dark Kickstarter, which I imagine is going to suck up a lot of money. Zygig, when does it launch? Next week?
Well, so Castle Zygig or Zygig, they're collecting email addresses so they can send you a free PDF and they can gauge interest in their project. I think I saw where they had over 4,000 names there. So that's pretty good interest on it. And you will be getting, when this thing finally starts, you will get a free 10-page PDF, The Outs In, which is one of the inns in Iggsburg. Now, I'm interested. So they released their schedule of what they're going to do. They're going to have three. They're going to have basically three projects. One's going to be, the first project is going to be, that's sweet. Look at how cool that is.
I like the fluff.
Yeah, so there's the Grell with the weird tentacles coming out of its head. There's some sort of misshapen, slimy things. Yeah, I like this. I think anything that makes a table more exciting is awesome. So I'm down with that. I think that's great.
So here's Castle Zygig comes back to life on March 11th. The wait is nearly over. The multi-campaign revival will be a massive undertaking. However, when it comes to the most iconic fantasy setting ever written, we're up to the task. Act 1, Galleries of the Archmage. The first of 2 crowdfunding campaigns launches on March 11th and includes the first 3 volumes of Gary Gygax's iconic Castle Zygig. Act 2 is Dungeons of the Archmages, the second crowdfunding campaign, which launches in early 2026 and will include the final 2 volumes of the historic masterpiece. Now, Volume 1 is going to basically contain the town, I guess it's pronounced Eggsburg, going to cover the entire East March region, including the town of Garham and 60 different locales. So that's going to be the first volume. The second volume is going to be the ruins of Castle Gig and the Mouths of Madness, which are underneath. Those I think are going to be covered in the first Kickstarter. The second Kickstarter is going to be the first 5 dungeon levels brought back to life, including sub levels, so a total of 8 dungeon levels. So basically, we're looking at, oh my gosh, 2 years until this is all out and completed. Because the first thing you're going to get, obviously, like I said, it's going to be the town and then the beginning. Basically, so if you looked at what was released before, they released a hardback, which was the City of Vicksburg, and they released a few little supplements that were different streets. I think I have 1 or 2 here. I'll grab them in a second to show you. And then you had the box, Castles of Gig. The box, now they only did the first level of the dungeon in the box. And later editions were supposed to have more levels, which unfortunately Gary passed away. Jeff was not able to work on it past then, so that's it. That's all they had. My question would be, are they just going to rewrite the hardcover and the box set? And then for the second Kickstarter, which is in 2026, which would contain all new material, if they're not going to just rewrite the old material, that's why it has a year lead time, because it's not written yet. Because it doesn't appear to me that anything's written on this yet. I don't know. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago, that this is going to be a very sensitive project, because
I think they're playing this smart, where they're reissuing what has come before, and then
that's
they
what it
can
sounds
build
like to
on
me
that.
too, Jim. That's exactly what
That
it sounds
buys
like
them
to me.
time.
Yeah, I think it buys them at least a year, maybe more, probably actually 2 years. But we've kind of gotten away from the model to where we haven't written anything yet, and we're asking you to back us on faith. So I'm really surprised they're going this direction, because we've gotten to where we're spoiled as Kickstarter backers. We want a finished product, we want artwork, we want everything in the can, and the whole paradigm that, well, we got this great idea and it'll be out in a couple years, but it's a great idea. We're kind of moved beyond that. And so I'm a little, I don't know. I have a little trepidation about this, I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. Look, I trust Steve and the Trolls, because they got us Memorial Tomb, which was dead. That was never going to happen. They did it. They got that done. I'm not going to say they can't do it, but I don't know. It's a little ambitious. And I would like to know more information. Who's writing it? Because Jeff is famously not on this. Right. Jeff is not doing it. Mike Stewart was going to be head writer. But I assumed what that meant is he is going to be the head of a writing team with, I don't know, 3 or 4 other people. Who knows how many people? How much of Gary's notes are going to be used? I mean, I don't know. We don't know any of this. And I just would love to Magic 8 Ball.
I'm going to do the Magic 8 Ball, man. Come on, man.
All right, Magic 8 Ball.
Magic 8 Ball says, oh, man, God, I forgot how hard it is to read. Hold on.
Is it Cloudy Fluid?
Outlook good.
Okay, well, Outlook good. This Magic 8 Ball likes it. So no, I don't know. I guess now I'm just spoiled, right? I'm a spoiled Kickstarter backer. I like to know all my ducks in a row before I throw some money at something. Am I wrong, or should I just trust the Trolls and say that, you know what, it's going to get done?
I think we have to give them some credit. I think we have to understand that number one, that this is going to fund and it's going to be a project that just explodes. There's going to be scope creep and And I think it's smart to release. The first project is to release what has come before, clean it up, probably pull some things out, add some things in, and I'm perfectly okay with all of that.
Sure.
I just don't have a problem with that at all. I think that we don't want to get caught up in the weeds, if that makes sense. I think it's very easy. I'm queuing up the next thing I want you to I want to share with people if they haven't seen this. So I think that I think it's very easy to we all know the Kickstarters that have failed. We have spent innumerable amounts of time talking about the Kickstarters that have failed. Let's not dwell on the bad. Let's just hope for the good. And there's nothing whatsoever about Steve and his brother and there's nothing about Troll Lord that has ever given me pause. And I don't think that there's anything.
There shouldn't be, because they've never failed. They've never not done a Kickstarter. Everything.
So let it roll, right? So I wanted to mention these. So you've never heard of
Art prints?
Yep.
Is this original art? Or are these prints?
There you go.
Okay, so these are not originals. These are prints. But if you click on the player's handbook print, so you're going to see this and you're going to be like, "Sweet Jesus, Kitchen, they're $145. Are you high?" And I will say, yes, I understand what you're saying, but this is the first time that any of these have legally been available for sale. Actually, the price has gone up. But it depends on, So they're 18 by 26, which is not too far off the original size of the illustration. They're really, really well done. I know somebody who got a set of these and is insanely happy with them and sent me all sorts of pictures and raved and raved and raved and raved and raved. And they compared them to, we've all seen the Series 7 Earl Otis basic set print that came out last summer at
really
Comic-Con.
nice. Yeah.
And he said it is literally as nice as that.
Wow.
But what's interesting is they've got all three. They've got the player's handbook, they've got the Dungeon Master's Guide, and they've got the Monster Manual. And so, we talk about stuff like this from time to time. There's other images, but frankly, no. But the DM's Guide and the player's handbook paintings, I have pictures from when they were originally displayed somewhere. And I'm very, very happy that somebody has gotten. Let's give credit where credit is due. WotC has done the right thing here and released this imagery. You've never been able to own posters of these three images before, not to my knowledge. And I'm a guy who tracks posters pretty closely. I've never seen these three images available in a licensed manner. And I wanted to share that tonight. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Like $155 is a commitment. But if these are iconic images to you, if this is something that you're like, whoa, I did want to point this out to people because I thought it would be something of note. I'm happy that we see this, right? Come on, we've all bitched and bitched and bitched that they should let us have a chance to do more. Now, it's a German company. My friend said he had to wait like 2 or 3 weeks, but then they showed up. They were packed for an overseas travel. Thought very well of them. So he was happy.
My only complaint is we don't have a more iconic Easily picture there, because I don't see any iconic.
Is Dragon Mountain one of the images?
No, Dragon Mountain's Jaquays.
Oh, sorry, my bad. My bad.
But yeah, the one in the upper right is Easily, but I don't think that's one of his better works at all. I think that's a very.
Oh no, I agree.
Yeah, I don't like that one. But the Elmore's classic, obviously. The Elmore's an absolute freaking classic. Yeah, I don't.
Easily, by the way, 145. Why do you say 650 on the other?
Yeah, I don't like that one.
But
definitely
it depends on if you get it framed. I think you have to. If you choose the frame it for me option, you'll pay through the nose.
Are those the only 9 so far, Jim? Or is there more?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's it.
Those are pretty good. That's that. Like I said, I love the 3 originals. I really like that. That Elmore in the middle is probably one of the most iconic D&D posters of all time. I mean, as a matter of fact, that's the only reason I bought this, because I saw this in the store years ago, and I had to buy the. Oops. I had to buy the jigsaw puzzle, which, by the way, has never been opened.
Your transition to being an older person is truly in
I'll be
form.
ready when about time for me to put together how many pieces is this? I don't know, a couple hundred pieces, maybe. I don't know. No, it's never going to be open. Never going to be open. But yeah, that's one of my favorite Elmores of all time. So that's a good choice. I think they made a good choice on those. Like I said, I would have picked a better Easley. There's some really good Easleys out there. But that's great that we're finally. Look, I was really excited, and everybody knows that I've given Matthew Coder a hard time over the years because he has all the great D&D art in a vault, and he was absolutely amazing of him to have a display at Luca Convention this year. Amazing display for everything I heard, where he for the first time people were actually able to see some of the most iconic original pieces of art in the entire D&D spectrum. And I just think that's great. And I've actually talked to him privately over the past 2 weeks, and he says that he's looking at an American convention next. I'm just going to assume that's going to be Gen Con probably. I don't know, but that would seem to be the logical choice. And so I'm excited to see a lot of this stuff be available to people, either by being able to see it in a museum or seeing it at an art display, or by being able to own it yourself,
That's a print, yeah.
I wish more of this stuff was out there like that. I wish we were, it drives me crazy. There's so many really great early third-party products that we can't see in print. And there's a lot of just classic stuff that nobody's ever going to see because, there was some, I'll give you an example of some great fanzines in the early British scene. One was called The Beholder, and one was called Owl and Weasel. Owl and Weasel, not Alan Weasel, Owl and Weasel. And I know that there's efforts from a couple of different people to reprint those because it's an incredible snapshot of the early years of the hobby. And I was so happy to hear a few years ago that Lee Gold has started to reprint the early issues of Alarm and Excursions. Those are great. If you've never read any of the Alarms and Excursions, that is the hobby beginning. That is the beginning of the hobby. And you're seeing these people that have just discovered D&D, and they're saying, wow, wouldn't it be great to have a pyromancer class? And they work up a pyromancer class for OD&D. Yes. And it's and so I love seeing this stuff out there. I think the information should be out there, and people should. What's the old saying? The information should be free. I think the stuff should be out there, and you should be able to purchase it. And I think it's wonderful. I if I can scrape together some bucks this year, I may get that Elmore and get it framed up in my. And if I'm lucky, I can see him at Gary Con and get it signed next year, or one of these years. I never know.
You probably know somebody who could help you out there. Just throwing that out there.
I don't know. No, I don't know anybody that goes. I wish I did.
Right.
Yeah. I wish I knew somebody was going to be there. Darn it. Oh.
So what other things have we got to talk about? Let's see.
What did I buy that I was interested in showing you guys?
I love how you got your mood lighting now.
Yeah. It makes you look mysterious.
It's Mike After Dark.
Wow.
Hi, folks.
Wow.
Hey, folks. How's it going?
There's the unhealthy glow of the.
You need the flashlight, Mike, right in your face. Yeah.
Hi, guys.
He's fondling his glow in the dark.
Hey, ladies. Wouldn't you like to roll a 12, or would you rather roll an 11?
Yes.
I don't even know what that means, but it's here we are. Reminds me of one of those really bad commercials that come on late night back in the day when, hey, are you alone? It's a Friday night. Call up our chat line. You're like, oh, that sounds kind of cool.
Only 99 cents a minute.
Yeah, and we'll keep you talking definitely about 20 minutes because I had a friend back in the day, true story, who worked for one of those chat lines, and her job was to keep people on the line. And she had a sexy voice. And so her job was when they call in the chat line, these are group chat, these are what they call party lines. They'd be party chat. Her job was to be, hi guys, what's going on here? And to keep them talking as long as possible, because so they could rack up those fees. That's the kind of jobs we don't have anymore, kids. The kind of jobs.
Those are the kind of jobs we need to bring back to the United States.
Absolutely.
I don't want any more foreign telephone sex workers. I want that to come back to the heartland, so that
she wasn't a sex worker.
So that you know that the person telling you, oh yeah, I've always wanted to hear about your peanut butter, right? Like that's the person that's going to be from like Nebraska,
my friend,
not like some woman from the Philippines who's like, I do not understand them. Why are they like this?
No, this was not a sex line. It was a party line where you're supposedly teenagers talking to other teenagers. Of course, the problem was half the room was 45-year-old men.
I was just going to say.
And the other half were people like my friend pretending to be teenage girls. So it was really kind of an untrustworthy.
This is just desperate.
Well, Jim, this was the 80s to some of us. I'm sorry. This is the way the 80s rolled for some of us. So I still remember going to a party and a guy said, hey, if we call a party chat line with this guy's phone, he's charged for it, right? I'm like, yeah.
There's a guy at my church growing up who got in trouble for calling the Pin House. Pin House was the first company to do an 800 number where you could call and somebody would be saying something awful.
Hi,
and he called from the church's telephones.
Nice.
And they got billed. And yeah, like
this person. Yeah. Well, one of the things you could do to people back in the 80s if you're really evil is if you were at a party at their house, you would dial a chat line, then leave the phone off the hook. And to their shock, the next month phone bill would contain a $85 bill for the Friday night they had a party last month. Oh, I knew who did that. That was bad, Mike. Damn him. I know that he did that.
I think you're the voice of experience. I think you're the inflictor, not the inflicted.
It sounds like I know too much about this, doesn't it?
Yes.
Wow.
It may have been done once or twice to somebody that I thought.
And you know who owned all of this? Alan Hammock. Alan Hammock was rolling in all the filthy.
That's why he quit TSR. This is why he left TSR.
Alan Hammock was sitting in his throne room somewhere outside of Birmingham on Scrooge McDuck levels of money going,
oh my God.
I've convinced 45-year-old men to call to talk to teenage girls.
and they weren't even really teenage girls. That was the best part.
That's right. Her name was Maud. She's a mother of 5. She chain smokes.
She lives in
ask about how old she is because she's just going to be like,
she's calling for her apartment.
I'll tell you what I'm wearing. Hold on. Oh yeah, it's really hot. It's hot because I don't have air conditioning because I live in a trailer. Hold on, wait, I can't get enough this way. Let me put it in my trach tube. Hold on.
Tell me about your miniature collection again.
I tell you what, kid, I don't know what this Dungeons and Dragons stuff is, but you can hit me with that cleric all you want.
Yeah. I'll fondle your mini for you.
My job was a sage.
I'll put that primer on your figure.
Oh,
yeah, roll those funny dice all over me, kid.
Come on.
I love it.
Roll a 20. That's what the kids say, right? Roll a 20.
I don't care how lonely and desperate you are, kid, as long as your mom and dad pay the phone bill.
See, this is the kind of job opportunities and the kind of experiences kids today can't have. They can't have these.
Thank God.
You open up the internet and it's all on there for free.
That's right. Alan Hammock is the Telazar, right? He's just like, I've got so much money from lonely men. This is amazing, right? I've eliminated all the middlemen. I don't sell game products or comics or anything else. I've just gone straight to direct delivery, right? He's just rolling in the cash.
We're sorry we are corrupting your son, Greg, but you do a great enough job yourself. So
that's right.
Just tell your
go
son
ahead.
this.
I just opened up another can of cheese balls. Keep talking.
Your son will never have these experiences, Greg, because he can just find all the internet for free. So Yeah. Oh wait, did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
The
But he's
I
already
quit saying the
he's over the
quiet
age
part
of,
out loud.
if he's over the age of 13, he's already found it all. Don't you know?
The
you can't-
internet is for prom. Yes.
I tell you what, the great moment, and I don't mind sharing this because I embarrassed the crap out of him. I caught my kid looking at things on the internet he should not be looking at. And I said, I give you two choices, choose wisely.
Rite of passage, of course.
I said, number one is you knock this shit off because I now am going to look at your phone any damn time I want. And if I catch you looking at this stuff again, I'm taking the phone away for 6 months. And he goes, or? I said, I take this phone downstairs right now, and you have to read the name of every one of these websites to your mom.
Oh.
He tapped out. I'm sorry. Yeah. I want you to imagine having to read that URL, kid. www.bigbootydockers.com. Your mom's going to love that.
Battle of the Anal Stars? No, I'm not reading that.
So that's funny. I was talking with somebody this week who did not know who Sybil Danning was.
Oh, wow.
That's because we're old. We're old now.
And I enjoyed like trying to have a conversation where I explained what's the John Boy science fiction movie, Battle Beyond the Stars, or whatever. Yeah, the Roger Corman not Star Wars movie that's actually the Magnificent Seven, where he convinced Vaughn to be the same character he was in the Magnificent Seven, but just in space. I thought that was really good. But Sybil Danning's in that movie as the Valkyrie, or Valkyrie, or whatever. And I was trying to explain. I said, yeah, and then like she made a bunch of low budget movies, and like one of them's a women's prison movie, and one of them's like Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS. Like the career goes meandering ways, but I have a secret to share.
Okay.
I share a birthday with Sybil Danning. And Sybil Danning is on Facebook. And so years ago, when I first got on Facebook, I, when you have a birthday in late May, you're like, whatever. There's not a lot of people, right? Unfortunately, I'm the same birthday as Bob Dylan and Queen Victoria. And I can't remember why, but one day I was like, is there anybody else? And lo and behold, Sybil Danning. And so there's a guy that used to work for me in Canada. He and I also had the same birthday. And so the first year I'm on Facebook, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to send a happy birthday wish to these other people I know with the same birthday. And that includes Sybil Danning. And I shit you not, she replied. And it's like, oh, thanks. You're the first person to wish me happy birthday today. And about every other year, I reply to this 3-person chat of me, the other guy, and Sybil Danning. And about every other year, she replies, oh, thanks a lot. It's good to see you guys. Sorry, good to see you, birthday people. And I'm just like,
oh my God.
Sweet. Sybil Danning knows who I am.
She does. You made more impression on her than Harlan Ellison made on Frank Sinatra. So that's awesome. Because now she does know who you are, Jim. You are not just a footnote. We lost Jim's sound.
That might be the signal.
I think that's the signal we've talked too long tonight because Jim's sound
ding, ding. Everything comes to a stop. Quick update.
Next week, Kim's going to talk to some moose talk.
We're going to do some moose talk.
Moose talk, nothing but moose talk. Nothing but MooseQuest as far as we see. God, and like you gotta back this, or otherwise, like this really angry pixie is gonna show up at your door with a knife.
Oh my!
How much crap have I backed of yours? Why have you not backed my crap?
That. Trust us, folks. Just a reminder: there's a random weekday. I said it's random because life doesn't really allow me to say a certain day for the live stream, but you'll have a 24-hour notice if you're subscribed to the channel. Subscribe. You'll know when some random live stream's coming up. Next live stream's tomorrow at 8 p.m. Don and Tom and myself. Probably nothing on Friday unless I scrounge somebody up, because Glenn is a thespian actor and will be acting. Live stream on Saturday, and we're doing shorts now. So, and I'm not talking about the ones you wear. We're doing like un pequeño videos. Mike, anything?
I don't have anything. I'm looking forward to hearing people going to GaryCon in a couple weeks. So that should be fun. I made it last year, but this year was just not to be. I hate, you're not gonna believe this. There's just too much going on in my life right now. I know it doesn't make sense, but I just can't make it. But Jim, you'll be there, right? You'll be at GaryCon, and Jim will probably have some great stories the week after that. I can't wait to hear.
I got a note from Earl Otis while we were on the show tonight. I got to reply to Earl.
Oh, okay, cool.
Ask him tell him we're still waiting for him to come back to North Texas, and he's welcome whenever he wants to come back. I've left the ball in his court. He is, whenever he wants to come, we're
I believe you should send him an email and speak to him about that directly.
I have, but I need the Jim Kitchen push there.
Who's talking? Operator.
The Jim Kitchen sweet beggy puppy eyes. Errol,
I got news for you. That's never worked ever.
Lisa,
I believe if you were to look over my shoulder at the smoldering remains of my romance, you would see that had never, ever.
Oh no.
It was more like I just wore them down through erosion.
Everybody gets beaten down.
Can we have a pull dad? 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 No. I'm getting hoarse. Fine, screw it.
All right, we'll do it. Folks, very lively chat. We thank you. And the show will return next Wednesday. We'll be talking mooses.
Yes.
And
no pixies. Pixies, peppermint, and otherwise.
Mooses and pixies, but no Mises.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Wasn't it moose and meese? I forget which part.
Mooses
and mices. Yeah.
I hates them Mises to pieces. That's what you're trying to say.
There we go. All right.
I hates them Mises to pieces. And then I think this is the last. This is what we all need everybody to review between now and next week. You better be familiar with the Moose Goosers poem. See them snoozy mooses see them moose goosers, goosing them mooses, goosing them snoozy mooses in they cabooses. It's an epic tale.
All righty then. Never heard of it, but I guess we got homework.